Welcome to another video tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about NextJS Google Drive directory and show you how we install it to a Vercel instance, and also how we set up a subdomain to connect to that Vercel instance. In the last video, we went over how to install on localhost. So we just went ahead and pushed that localhost environment that we created last time in the last video directly to a private GitHub repository. Now, we're going to be pushing this directly to GitHub every time we make a change to our configuration file. And this configuration file needs to be updated with the correct URLs as we go along in our demonstration. So here, let's open up Vercel. I've already created an account, but I don't have any new projects. So let's go ahead and create a new project. You can see that because I'm already connected, it lists all the repositories connected to this GitHub account. So what we're going to want to do is run the import feature on the private repository we created for this project. The next thing it's going to ask us to do is create a team. Let's go ahead and just create a team, GBTI Labs. This is going to be important later. Now the next thing we're going to do is set up our deploy methods. Now, it should automatically detect that this is a NextJS script, and it should automatically provide the correct build run commands. So we won't have to do much of anything here. Let's click deploy, and it'll show that our deployment is now building. It's now pulled that repository from our GitHub and is now running it. It's installing the node modules. And as soon as it's done installing the node modules, it's going to run the launch the website command. All right, it looks like it's loaded. We did speed this up for this video. It does take longer normally. So after the animation finishes, let's continue on to our dashboard. Let's not set up anything else at the moment. Okay, you can see that we have our first deployment right there. Let's go ahead and click on it. It's going to give us more details about our first deployment. It's also going to give us the temporary URL that this instance is running on Vercel on. We're going to copy that URL, and we're going to go into our configuration file that did have our homepage URL set up as localhost, and now we're going to save this. Now we're going to go into our Google Cloud Console, and we're going to edit our OAuth client IDs to support these new JavaScript origins. Don't forget to add the redirect URI with the login at the very end. Make sure that trailing slash is gone on the first paste. Now go ahead and press save. Now what we want to do is open up our Git management utility and push our changes that we've made to our config file. This will push our changes to the Git repository, which will then be listened to by Vercel to create a new deployment of our application. We're going to find out this doesn't go right though, and we'll explain why, because it's important. This is probably something that you'll experience too. All we see currently in our deployment section is our old deployment that we deployed before our latest commit. So we're wondering why our commit is not triggering new deployment. So let's go ahead and test another commit just to make sure that we're sane and that our commits are not translating to new deployments, because we're going to find out that they are not, and then we're going to have to figure out why. So look, no new deployments. Let's go to our Git repository and check out. We have a failed issue, a failed connection with Vercel. Let's check out the details. It says that we need to be added to the team that we created. Okay, so let's go ahead and get OAuthed up. All right, so now we're added. Let's practice with another commit, and if everything works well after this commit, Vercel should detect every time that we make a new commit to our application, and it should rebuild the application. All right, committing. It automatically pushed. So now let's check it out. Let's go back to Vercel. Let's run a refresh. All right, and it's picked up that a new master deployment build is being built right now. So let's check out the deployment section just to make sure that we're not crazy. And our new build is right there. So now we're properly integrated, and every time we make a new commit to our private repository, this Vercel instance will pick up on that and redeploy the application. So now let's check out the new application. We've added the supportive redirect URIs. We should be able to simple sign in right now. Okay, it worked. So great. So now our application is running on Vercel. It's running on Vercel for free, and it seems to be working. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we are going to want to put this application to a subdomain on a domain that we own. We don't have to do this. We could actually skip this and just bookmark the Vercel URL, and it would work forever. But just for cosmetic sake, we want to put this on our own domain. So let's go into the project settings, and let's go to the domain sections, and let's go ahead and get let's imagine a new subdomain that we want to create this on. What would be a good one? Let's see. NextJS Google Drive directory. That's sort of a mouthful. Let's not name it that. Let's name it something a little bit simpler. internaldocs.gbti.io. All right, so we have added the subdomain, but it's not set up. What we are going to need to do is we're going to need to open our domain name management service and add these to our domain management. Now, I'm going to do this off platform or off screen, and I'm going to create my CNAME record, and I'm going to follow the advice as recommended. And now that I've done that, let's see if the DNS is going to accept my changes. We'll just keep refreshing until it connects. All right, it appears that it did connect, and we can now access the application directly from the domain that we set up. But to complete this tutorial, what we're going to want to do is we're going to set up our redirect URIs and our authorized domain URIs back into our Google Cloud Console. And now we want to test our system with those redirect URIs added in. And everything should work now. Now we should have a fully functional application hosted on Vercel and connected to a subdomain that we own. And it works. There we go. It's fantastic. Now we want to update our config again to use the subdomain rather than using the temporary Vercel domain that we were using. All this is going to do is make sure that the logo on the directory redirects accordingly to the place that we want it to go. Because if you take a look at it now, the domain still goes to the old Vercel instance, and that's not what we want. We want, if someone clicks on our logo, to be taken to the same location. So updating our config is going to do that, and as soon as we commit to that, it's going to be inside of our deployments, and as soon as our deployment is done building out, it's going to be associated with the application that's running on the subdomain we just created. So now we go back to the subdomain once this finishes the build process, which should take just a moment. Let's just go ahead and wait. All right, it's built. Now let's refresh. Let's click the logo, and if it works, we'll be taken to the same location. It worked. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Nice. And that's how we connect our Git repository to our Vercel instance.